Well, good evening YouTube. This is the Hound Dog speaking to you on Monday the 19th of December. And well, we have about a foot of snow on the ground outside, and it's getting pretty chilly. We've got a -15 overnight tonight, so we are well and truly into winter as Christmas Day approaches. So today is the day that the Electoral College votes down in the United States of America to decide on who is truly the President of the United States. And I wanted to make one final video, although I don't know whether this is going to be a final video, about the election, because there's a few things that are kind of getting to me about this. I don't know whether you're finding the same thing, but you know, in life, you know, we're quite often defined or judged by the way we respond to difficult situations. And winning and losing are very defining situations. So the way you lose really says an awful lot about who you are. And really, I have to say that the way the DNC is behaving is just appalling. All of the things that they accuse Donald Trump of, and this is, don't get me wrong, this is not a vote for Donald Trump. I'm just pointing out that all of the things that they accuse Donald Trump of, they are now doing themselves. They will not accept the election results. They are trying to blame absolutely everybody except themselves for running the wrong candidate. I think that if Bernie Sanders had run, he would have been president. I think there's no doubt about that. He was gaining momentum, and yeah, Bernie could have been the one. But, and this is a big but, he decided to run the one that had 2 criminal investigations hanging over her head going into the race. Now, I just want to talk about a few things here. First, I was reading in the Globe and Mail on Saturday. This is Elizabeth Renzetti's article, and she's talking about, go ahead, laugh. Humour is the weapon in the fight against Trump. And she says here at one point, Mr. Trump has not been able to let it go. You know, it's the Democratic Party that has not been able to let it go. And so, you know, I think it's a little rich to be behaving this way. And of course it's getting quite dangerous, because Obama now says he's going to exact a price for hacking. Well, I wonder what that price will be, although I do hear that he's just flown off for a golfing vacation in Hawaii. I suspect he'll stay there for the rest of the time until inauguration, and he may drop in and say hi. So, did the Russians really hack Hillary Clinton, the election, or what have you? Personally, I don't think so. And why do I think so? Well, you know what? The DNC told us it was impossible to hack the election. The CIA said it was impossible to hack the election. These are from the Washington Post, October. The links are down below so that you can check what they were actually saying. So they basically told us that it was absolutely impossible for the election to be hacked, and now they're saying that it's been hacked. Well, what is it? Is it impossible to hack the election, or not impossible to hack the election? And of course, we should really put the horse before the cart. And I'm going to play you a little piece by Trey Gowdy, who is the absolutely brilliant head of the Benghazi Commission. He is a congressman in North Carolina. I believe he was the Attorney General there. I'm not sure if he's still the Attorney General. Anyway, he it's absolutely excellent, and you'll see in this little clip that I'm about to play you, you will see something that, well, is absolutely the case. Take a look.
I really do. Maybe I'm the only one in my line of work that does. I think the same rules ought to apply to everybody, no matter what the calendar says and no matter what your political ideation is. I don't consider what Comey did to be updating Congress on the substance of his investigation. I view it as supplementing his previous testimony. The other thing that I think is interesting is, let's assume arguendo that Secretary Clinton this morning said the FBI investigation's over, I have been cleared, is all in the rearview mirror. If Comey knows that that is not true, if he knew that Friday there was more information that came to light, he may believe that he has an obligation to correct the public record. But that letter was short on substance. It was just a notification letter is how I viewed it, not an update. And as I talked to Devin Nunes and other members of my conference who would be in a position to know the substance of it, they don't know the substance of the email. So I don't view it as an update on the investigation.
There are those who say, and many, that the timing of this is really questionable, really inappropriate on the part of Comey. What's your reaction to that?
That not a single one of the facts at hand is directly attributable to Director Comey. He didn't tell her to set up her own private email server. He did not tell her to mislead the public about whether or not she sent or received classified information. He did not tell Uma Abedin, hey, don't turn over all your devices. And God knows he didn't tell Anthony Weiner to sext with underage girls. So none of that is Jim Comey's fault. The timing is a direct and natural consequence and probable consequence of decisions Secretary Clinton made years ago. So I wish we had known this a year ago. But is that Comey's fault that we did not know she had a private server 2 years ago?
No,
that's
it is
not the FBI's
Mike
fault.
Barnicle.
So he's absolutely right. If there wasn't a private server, there probably would have been no hacking whatsoever. Hillary Clinton had a private server. She used a BlackBerry that she was told by the FBI and the CIA not to use, which she did use. There was multiple private servers, and you know what? I mean, this is really very disingenuous. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's just. Next point is, if the Russians did hack the election, could it be that they were on Hillary's side and they wanted to get Hillary elected? Because Hillary did, after all, win the popular vote. Okay, so if the Russians were helping, it looks very much as if they were on Hillary's side and not Donald Trump's. And, you know, they seem to bring up the DNC, that is, that the fact that Donald Trump's servers weren't hacked into by the Russian is evidence that he is affiliated with the Russians. Well, apparently the reason his servers weren't hacked into was because he had a spam blocker. And so the phishing expedition that got John Podestra's email, you know, like you got to be smarter than this stuff. You got to be ready to see it coming. Anyways, you know, to think that none of these major countries, these major players, act out in other people's elections and other people's business is just, it's so naive to even consider that. When you think that the CIA has been involved, well, it was the OSS then, the Overseas Secret Service, with the Shah of Iran, the Bay of Tonkin, which precipitated the Vietnam War, Chile, you know, Allende was assassinated on behalf, I heard, of Coca-Cola because he didn't want to go along with Coca-Cola's plans out there. And so that meant the election of Pinochet, but that was the removal of a legitimate leader of a country. There was Iraq. There was no weapons of mass destruction. They took out, the CIA took out the head of a country. And then there's Libya, there is Syria. Frankly, I don't care what you think of Bashar al-Assad or Gaddafi, they were sovereign nations. And to try and understand what's right and what's wrong morally, or how to view some of this stuff, okay, is imagine, just flip that around. If somebody had decided to do regime change in America, or regime change in Britain, or in France, or in Germany, wow, I don't think you'd be seeing the complacent response by the UN over the absolute devastation that's taking place in Syria. I cannot imagine what it's like to be in Syria, in Aleppo right now. To have your country destroyed. And before this, yes, I know that there was tensions in Syria, but before this was a functioning, sovereign country. Libya was a sovereign country that was functioning. And the UN imposed a no-fly zone over Libya, which ended up to the destabilization of the country and the eventual overthrow and, murder, assassination of its leader, Gaddafi. Syria, the same thing. And we have to look at the oil connection. Anyway, I'm going off topic. This is a huge topic. If you want to know more, I'll put a link again down below to The Secret of the Seven Sisters. This is going to tell you all about the oil and energy situation worldwide and how it has precipitated and provoked so much of the situation today. If you watch The Secret of the Seven Sisters, you will fully understand why we're in the position we're in today. Not to mention Gladio A and Gladio B, and I will leave another link down below to those two documentaries. Gladio A and Gladio B were basically sleeper groups that were left throughout Europe after the Second World War and the collapse of the Soviet Union. And these were put in place by the CIA to do whatever sleeper groups do. I'll leave that to your imagination and your own researches. So, it's a little rich to be saying that the Russians interfered with the American election, and I suspect this is why actually Obama has taken off for a few weeks of golf in some sunny weather, because he knows it's not going to amount to anything. And I suspect today that Trump will become the president. I cannot see a member of the Electoral College going against the will of the people. And the will of the people was clearly spoken on election day. And don't get me wrong, to me, okay, President Trump is the 45th President of the United States of America. Just as if Hillary Clinton had been elected, Hillary Clinton would be the 45th President of the United States of America. In a historical perspective, these personalities don't actually amount to, certainly not enough to get too emotional about. They are just people in a line of people who have ruled over us. And I'm often reminded of a little story that Tommy Douglas used to tell. And as you remember, Tommy Douglas was the leader of the NDP, or the CCR, I believe, or CCP party back in the day. Anyways, he brought in Medicare and unemployment insurance for the masses that lived in Canada at the time, the general public. And anyway, he was a great orator and a great storyteller, and he quite often told the story of the black cats and the white cats. And so it turns out there was this village of mice, and one day the black cats came into town and said to the mice, "Hey, if you'll let us take care of business, we'll look after you real good, and we'll make sure you're nice and toasty and warm, and you got all the snacks you can take care of." So they decided to vote in the black cats. Well, after a little while, of course, the black cats started eating the odd mouse here and there. So the mice weren't too happy with this. Anyway, along come the white cats, and the white cats promise the mice faithfully that they'll get all the snacks they want, they'll be nice and toasty, and what's more, they'll make sure that the black cats don't eat any more mice. Well, this goes along for a little while and everything's just fine, but next thing you know, the white cats are eating a few mice. Well, the black cats come in, promise the same thing. They're going to protect the mice from the white cats and make everything toasty and warm. Everything will be love and hugs and that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden one day, the mice wake up and they go, "What are we voting cats in for?" Okay, and that's where we are right now. I think we're realizing, what are we voting cats in for when we're the mice? Okay, and I don't mean to be diminutive about who we are, but you know, in that story of allegory, we are the mice here. And most of these people that we elect actually have nothing to do with what we do. They have nothing to do with the lives that we lead. And so I see a changing of the guard. I mean, Brexit was the beginning. The election of Donald Trump is the next step in this. It looks for all the world like Marine Le Pen is going to be the president of France, and she's promised Brexit almost immediately. There was the Italian repudiation of globalization that just happened recently. And trust me, if France exits from the European Union, you will see Portugal, Greece, Spain, and Italy right behind, not necessarily in that order, because those are four countries that have really, they've been hit hard under the European Union. And as we can all see, the model that they have put forth for this nameless bureaucratic blob to take away the rights of the people is not sitting well with the public. And I expect 2017 to be a very exciting year indeed. And I hope you'll join me with this journey as we go through. And please, you know, don't get too emotional about all of this. What I find myself doing is just taking an objective perspective and realize that I'm on a journey through this life. Okay, and on that journey, well, what do you do when you're on a journey? You look out of the window, you observe things that are happening. When you arrive at a place, you meet people, you learn about the culture, you talk to them, you discuss things with them. And that's what life is like. I find for me it's maybe a little easier to keep that idea prominent in my mind because I did emigrate here from England, and I travelled through Europe prior to that. But I mean, you know, even though I've been here 36 years, I still feel that I'm on that adventure journey. And that's what I would like to encourage you to feel that you're on. And because when you're on an adventure journey, you know, if you read a book, if you read an adventure book, and nothing happened, nothing good, nothing bad, you wouldn't probably make it in past the first couple of chapters, okay? Because adventure stories are meant to be thrilling. Adventure stories are meant to be about situations where you're hanging on by the skin of your teeth, and that is how you experience the amazing taste of adventure in your life. Anyway, that is about all for now, and I would like to ask you to comment, to join the conversation. Please feel free to comment below. Thank you very much. Good night.